Not bad. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So glad you found me. If you are watching this video today, then perhaps you are in nursing school, maybe even your first semester, or you're a couple semesters in and you've been struggling a little bit with concept maps, which is what I'm going to talk about today. Concept maps were something that I definitely struggled with at first, but with more practice I got better at, and once I really realized like what exactly I need to focus on, it got better. So that's what I'm going to be talking to you guys about today. It's basically how to organize your concept map, what to focus on and prioritize, what kind of information you need to gather, and then how it should actually look on a sheet, and then even a few resources that I use personally while creating my concept maps. So hopefully you find this video helpful. If you do, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. That way you're notified when I post new videos, and let me know down below in the comments if this video is helpful or not. I also post YouTube videos about my nursing clinicals, my new job as an RN, my NCLEX studying experience, and just how I studied for nursing school in general. So be sure to check out some of my other content on my channel. And without further ado, because I don't like long intros, let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing that you will need for your concept map is, of course, materials. So materials would consist of having a large sheet of paper, different colored pens or pencils, that way you can organize your categories and kind of, as you make the concept map, be able to visualize your important information and then bring it all together into your nursing diagnosis at the end. So sometimes colors are helpful so you can see what's in each box. So like vital signs, your physical assessment, social history, medical history. I like putting them in different colors because it helps me keep them separate, and it even helps my instructor who's going to be grading them just kind of keep tabs on the information. Paper, pens and pencils, different colors if you prefer. And then make sure you have access to like a computer, so that way you can look up some of the websites that I'll let you know about in just a minute. And then make sure you have a nursing diagnosis textbook and a lab textbook. Now the reason you need those two things is your nursing diagnosis book, for almost every concept map, you have to have one. You have to have one nursing diagnosis, and then you're gonna have to use what's in that book to support your evidence, which once again I'll get into in a minute. So a nursing diagnosis book, and then you might want a lab book because our labs are gonna have to be interpreted. Most instructors don't really like it when you just list a bunch of labs or list a bunch of medications and they're on the paper, but they can't really tell what you know about the lab. Is it off? Why is it off? Is there anything in the patient's medical history that could be making it off? So having a lab book can help you look up your pertinent information and figure out, let's say potassium, your potassium's off. You can look in your lab book up potassium and then figure out some reasons why it might be up, why it might be down, and then look at your patient's information and decide, well, are they having some cardiac problems? Are they having some renal issues? Are they dehydrated? Are they diabetic and that's throwing off their potassium levels? Are they in DKA and things like that? So make sure you have a lab notebook with you. That way you can look those types of things up. So the second and next thing I want to talk to you guys about is just organization in journals. So I'm going to show you guys my concept map. It's probably the best one that I've written so far, and just so you know, I'm going to cover up information. It's a made-up patient for a simulation lab that I had, but just to keep in mind HIPAA, I'm still going to cover up the general information and tell you what you would want to put in that general information box. But I will be covering up, it's not real patient information, just so you know. But I will show you how I got to organize my concept maps, and yeah, they got better. By third semester I knew how to do it, so let me show you guys how I did mine. So here's my concept map, you guys, and as you can see, everything's kind of in its own box and category. And I tried my best to keep a lot of just basic information at the top and on the sides, and then in the middle you can see how I went from their admitting diagnosis to the nursing diagnosis and then interventions. That's how I always organized it. I want to see my chief complaint in the middle because that's where you want to start with, and then your nursing diagnosis because it's going to be largely reliant on your chief complaint here. And then once you see your nursing diagnosis, the first thing your instructor wants to know is, oh, now that you have this diagnosis, what are you going to do for your patient? What are your interventions? How are you going to evaluate your interventions and make sure that they're actually working, or if they're not working, what you can do next? What are the goals that you're going to set for the patient? Because sometimes they need help setting goals. Sometimes they're a little bit anxious or maybe even depressed about their condition, and they need some help making some realistic goals, both short-term and long-term. So let's talk really quick about SMART goals, which are super useful when you are making your care plan. So the S stands for specific. You want a specific goal. M stands for measurable. And then the A stands for attainable. And R stands for relative, and T stands for timely. So a good example would be the patient will be able to list 3 foods low in sodium by the end of the shift. And then teaching. What are you going to teach your patient that's relevant to the interventions that you are going to do and that they may need to do at home? And then obviously your physical assessment, because that tells you a lot about your patient. And this is basically just how I set it up. I set up every single one the same way, and doing every single care plan the same way really helped me get into a groove, and I started to kick out my my care plans faster, because these can take up a lot of time, guys. So if you have a way that you want to do it, even if you want to use the setup, great. Just make sure you get into a groove of things. And then what I have covered up here is general information. So this is when you put in the patient's initials. Never put their full name in, because that's going against HIPAA and you don't want somebody to find it, but you put patient initials, height and weight, their age, some other basic things like allergies, and are they a fall risk, in their diet. And I always put that in this little general info box. Now, one thing that I also did on the back of each care plan, sometimes my instructor required it, sometimes they didn't. I did it regardless, and that's the pathophysiology of whatever you're looking at. So I did the pathophysiology of hemorrhoids, which is kind of a interesting one to use, but you could do the pathophysiology of pneumonia or a catheter-associated infection, a skin problem, things like that. You take your clinical diagnosis, whatever the doctor gave them, and then you do your pathophysiology. So causes, risk factors, signs and symptoms, treatments, diagnosis. So the big thing here, guys, is once I wrote my patho out, I had a better idea of what kind of interventions I was going to need. And especially when I went to my nursing diagnosis book, my textbook, it was more helpful. I had an easier time finding what I needed. And then I'm also going to show you guys the website that I use, because I would type in, for example, hemorrhoids, or pneumonia is probably the easiest one that I have, and I would type it into this website I'll show you, and it made it a lot easier. Okay, so this is the website I would go to. It's called nurselabs.com, and I would click on it, and I would go up here to care plans, and you can look at them based off of whatever you see here in their long list of things. But I would just click all nursing diagnosis. And you can see here, this will help you with your general setup. What is the nursing diagnosis? Your nursing process, types of nursing diagnosis. So you have a couple different types. You have the health promotion, you have risk. So something like risk for acid-base imbalance or risk for impaired gas exchange. Those are different from diagnosis such as acute pain. You have a risk for, which means it hasn't happened yet, but you're going to try to prevent it. And then you have acute pain, which means it's already happened, so you want to do your best to combat it. And then it gives you step-by-step how to write a nursing diagnosis, which is really beneficial because sometimes instructors won't be super specific and they'll want the one part diagnosis. So sometimes your professor may be, or instructor may be non-specific, and sometimes they, like mine, they'll be really specific. So they want the full 3-part nursing diagnosis statement, which you guys can look up for yourselves. References and sources are important because, guys, you can't reference nurseslabs.com, and a lot of times they will ask for a reference or citation, especially in APA format. And you can't reference the nurselabs.com. You can, however, reference your nursing diagnosis book. You just have to make sure that the information matches up. So this is a great broken down, quick, easy to find information kind of website. But then you need to make sure that if you need to cite or reference, that you're going to your nursing diagnosis book and looking up the relative information for the same nursing diagnosis and using that for your citation. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Okay, so let's use my fake patient and I will show you guys what I would do. So instead of typing in hemorrhoids, because you're not really going to get a lot of nursing diagnosis for hemorrhoids per se, I would do, let's say my patient's at risk for GI bleed because they also had a mass and it needed a endoscopy, colonoscopy. So it's not going to give you specific GI bleed either, but it will give you risk for bleeding. So this is another one of your risk for diagnosis. And then boom, you got a risk for bleeding nursing care plan. So you can see, gives you some explanations as to why it might happen. NSAIDs could cause it. So look at your patient's history. Have they been taking NSAIDs? Does that put them at risk? Cancer, chemo agents. And then you get your goals and outcomes. So you would use this to put in your little goals box that you saw back on my care plan. And this is what you're gonna set goals for the patient. And then your nursing assessment, what are you going to be looking for? And these are also considered interventions. You can use assessments as interventions, just don't use 3 assessments for your interventions because one of them should be administering like a medication on time and checking a lab and things like that. But you can use assessment for 1 or 2 of your interventions. So it would be as simple as looking at your vital signs, looking to see if they've been taking NSAIDs chronically, looking at your lab results, and things like that. So hopefully that is helpful for you guys. Thanks again, guys, for watching my video. Once again, I hope you found it helpful, and don't forget to follow me. I'm also on social media on Instagram, and I will leave my little tag down below so you guys can follow me there too. But I hope you guys found this helpful, and take care. Bye, guys.